I'm going to do a quick demonstration and then give it to you so it stays out of the rain. But you guys can see me in the picture. Yeah. Orange, red, and yellow. Everything around me should be blue. Mm-hmm. When you take me out of the picture, it's going to fluctuate. So you see how the tree turned orange, red, and yellow? Mm-hmm. What we're looking for here, I'm actually going to hand that off to you now. You're going to hold it horizontal all night long. Your hands in front of the camera. I should have switched it for you, I'm sorry. So the red square on there means that it's recording. If you see that the red square turns to a circle, just tap it again and I'll splice your videos together. I'm getting pretty savvy with that too. I'm almost like an AV specialist at this damn point. But again, you're going to be looking for those blue and black spots that are going to be moving. You might not see them on the small screen, but at least we'll have the video so we can review it on a bigger screen tomorrow. I do upload it to YouTube and then back over to my website so you guys can view it there, or you can watch it on YouTube on your TV, so that way you guys have both options. So it's actually really nice. The whole channel is nothing but stories in a cemetery investigations, which is really cool. But again, anything that moves intelligently across an orange or red area, like that's what we want. If you notice too, it's not going to see in three-dimensional, so to help you with that, it puts white lines around objects, solid beings, whatever. So it may put a white line around those blue or black things that are going to move for us. We may also see thermodynamics in reverse. It is raining. I don't know how that's going to work out. What does that mean? It means you might actually see something heat up very quickly.
Right.
The second law of thermodynamics. What do you do for a living?
Trades, HVAC, so I know about...
So you know about the thermodynamics law?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I gave it to the right person. So, we are going to use several spirit boxes tonight. You are going to have one, and I'm going to have two on my phone, and I'll show you how those work, but you're going to have two devices, and one you're going to kind of keep in your pocket. That's why I asked about it.
Okay.
As soon as I find the little bag, and I'll explain both of these. So on the TV shows, they don't normally explain everything in detail of how it works or why it works or whatever. And I am going to bring the whole tote bag just in case it starts storming. You can duck the devices back away and keep them somewhat safe. So EMF, you guys have probably seen this device on your ghost hunting shows, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't want to flash anybody because it does one full flash. So it actually measures 3 different types of electromagnetic fields. I'll hand it to you so we can keep it dry. The first one is it's on green because that's natural from the earth. Okay, that's fine. The next one's going to be from electronic devices. So cell phones, parking meters, man-made wiring. It's going to make it go into a pulse or a rhythm. We don't necessarily want that either. So when it goes a little bit crazy and it's unexplainable, we're going to try to debunk it and then either claim it or move on. So it's a good spot too to actually have a spirit box, because when that thing's going nuts, that's when you want to start a spirit box session. So let me explain how this spirit box works. Your EMF isn't going to record anything, so it's basically just to help us try to find where the higher activity is. So it's just a gauge for us. This spirit box, sorry, I don't know why I keep closing that, actually records the entire session for us. Now I'm sure on the ghost hunting shows, you see the little static box, right?
Yeah.
Same thing that we have here, but the shows actually have it moving so fast through the radio stations that they only get disembodied voices. You guys are amateurs. You don't know how to listen to this thing yet because you don't have the screen to tell you what they think they heard. So I have it slowed down a little bit so the radio voices and chatter are going to come through. We will determine, and I'll help you listen to, because a lot of people have a hard time with this. I want to know what those radio stations are saying. That's what actually means something to us. We can start putting clues together with that. So again, if we get one sentence that says, hey, John is here, and then there's no EMF, I don't know how true that is. So I need another device to really help me prove that John is here. So
It's just like confirmation.
Right.
Yeah.
Different ways of communication. Now, when we're asking questions through this, and I'll kind of go through how we're going to do that, but the answer can go to his audio, my audio, this spirit box, or the two I'm going to use on my phone. It doesn't matter. Usually when I have a group of 10, I have another spirit box going around too. It's the same one you see on Ghost Hunters or Ghost Adventures. We use the SB7. I have that too. But this one records. It will not record us. So it's only going to record the radio stations. The cool thing about this guy is that it's, even when it's on mute, we can't hear the radio stations right now, correct?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to start recording even when it's on mute at the same level. So even when I'm talking and telling you the story of the place, we might actually be getting something through, but we won't know it until we listen to it tomorrow. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons why I got this guy. It was like, I swear, it was specially made for this specific tour. So that little SD on there, that's means that it's recording straight to the SD card. To turn the volume up and down, there's a little turnstile on there. I think we actually slowed it way down last night because an older couple had this, so they had a hard time listening to this guy. I want to speed it up just a little bit. Stick it on that one. So, I'm going to hand that off to you. I know it's a little wet right now. So, those are the main devices we're going to stick to. Okay, you guys' hands are actually obviously the EMF if you wanted to pocket it or switch it back and forth. That way, we're going to see it flashing anyway. So if you have it standing straight up, the lights will flash back at you. So however you want to use that. So let me show you what I'm going to use on my phone. Hopefully I can keep it dry on my... I recognize my fingerprint. So the two spirit boxes I'm going to use, one of them actually gives us a list of words right in the center of the screen and then saves it to a list. Super cool. One of the most active things we have. However, 80% of it's bullshit. Doesn't mean anything. It's the 15 to 20% where I'm like, okay, that makes sense. It gave us the name John. I'm standing by Big John's. That makes sense to me. Then it says the word football. That definitely makes sense to me because Big John was a football player. You see how I put those clues together? And then we might actually have something there to actually match up with it. There we go. Okay, so I do have a backup EMF in case your battery dies, so not a big deal there. But this is the one with the word list. It's going to give me the word right there in the center. And then this is last night's list. I'm going to clear them out. They had 69 words come up in their 90-minute tour. They already have it, so I'm going to clear it out for you guys. And then you'll have that full word list, and then I will give you verifiable links of why that word is relevant to that specific area. It might be an article that I wrote, it might be an outside article, but on my articles, I always put my references at the bottom so you guys can verify that I'm legitimate. The other one I'm going to use is a reverse spirit box, and I can use both of these at the same time. Super cool feature about this phone. So, reverse spirit box, what this guy is doing is it's literally just, it's a man and a woman saying words randomly, and then it plays it backwards. So in the event we actually hear something forwards, we might actually have something. I'm going to play an EVP for you, but I want you to get the gist of how much gibberish this sounds like first.
Yes.
So it's complete garbage, right? Makes no sense whatsoever. Shut that off for a second. So I caught an EVP a little while ago with that specific app, and I'm going to show you how clear it comes through. This is probably one of the most clearest EVPs I've ever caught, and I've been doing this for over a decade. As soon as I find the damn thing. Oh my god, where'd it go? There it is. So what you're going to hear is it's going to be the phrase baked beans breakfast. I was talking about a woman from England and had no idea what the hell this meant until a guest actually explained it to me. So let me turn it up.
Baked beans breakfast. Baked beans breakfast.
Did you guys catch that? Mm-hmm. Okay, so here's the whole story behind that. I had that EVP. On there, I caught another one that said, "I'll fix you," and then the word list gave me the word tea. So I had a full sentence, and this all happened within like 3 minutes of each other. "I'll fix you," baked beans breakfast, and tea. You see how I have to use all the devices to verify what's going on? I have never heard anything so clear come out of that app before, and I've been using it for probably 2 years now. I was like, holy shit, that's crazy. I need to save that. So I cut it out of their audio, because it doesn't record on the phone. I record it with the...
Oh, okay.
So the audio is actually going to be on my chest, and I'll hold the phone close, so you guys will have that as well. And if I hear something, that's when I say rewind by 5 seconds, so you guys can actually verify me. So let me turn this back down again. I will keep this on mute until I'm actually using it, or I'll say, hey, let's turn your spirit box down, I'll try mine. So to keep my phone dry, we're going to keep that there and up and running. So we start here for a reason. This place is used to be called Big John's, like I said before. It is haunted. Big John does haunt the place. And he used to sit in the back of the bar, and he would nod off to the bartender if the cadets were of age or not when they came over from the Citadel. So one night, he nods off to the bartender. These two guys aren't old enough. The two guys leave, pissed off. They come back the next night, and they try to steal the cash register from in front of the building. Big John pulls out his .45, shoots, kills, the bullet ricochets, and lands in the wall. That hole from the bullet is still here. I bring this up on purpose because anybody, well, not anybody, at random times, some people might feel dizzy, disoriented, headaches, queasy, those kind of weird, ill feelings. I don't know how this shit's going to affect you guys. We're literally going into a paranormal battlefield. These are friendly places, but it's a lot of activity. Okay? I can't guarantee a lot of activity, but when it does happen, I've had people pass out, like literally drop like a wet noodle. And it was on either a night like this or in the middle of the winter time. It's happened more than once. I've had witches look at me and say, "This is too much, I'm going home." Okay, thanks. Have a great night. I know how it's going to affect me. If you guys are not feeling well, I need to know the slightest thing. Smallest headache, eye twitch, I don't care what it is. I had CPR training after my first person passed out. I'm like, I don't want to ever have to use it, but I will if I have to. So let's keep ourselves safe. In the event something is coming up malevolent between multiple devices and I'm not comfortable, I will say we need to go very quickly. Doesn't happen often. 4 times in the past year. That's it. Where I've said, okay, we gotta go. I've taken shit home. Like, not a good thing. So I got a little hex bag on the back of my bag now, filled with blessed stones that help keep me safe ever since I've had it on there since the last malevolence. Everything's been peachy keen, but again, only 4 times. The odds are still against me. So, the other story here is we had a big earthquake in 1886. Did you guys know that?
No.
Yeah, it's a big one because it's the only one we've ever had. Piece of the mantling, this actually wraps around all the way around the front of the building. Piece of it broke off, hit somebody in the head, killed him. Paul, who was owner from Payne Run Bar, the place where you guys used to visit, has actually seen dark shadows right here on East Bay Street. I don't have any valid proof. I'm taking his word for it. So, it is what it is. You guys ready to go find some ghosts?
Sure.
All right, let's do this. We're going to go to weird places that the other ghost stores don't go to.
Okay.
Because there's really not much to see. So we have gadgets to help us see what should be. Is my language a little too hard for you guys?
No.
Okay.
We pass like sailors.
Okay.
You're pretty clean.
I'm trying to keep it.
Stay at our house for a week.
Is that?
Said stay at our house for a week.
Clean it up for the brand.
Well, I have kids myself. I mean, they're pretty much grown by now. But, like, I could tell my 14-year-old is already, like, a lot of times she'll tag along. And she's catching, they say, this shithead, and this, that, and the other, and this MFer, and then she starts with the, and then he said, I'm like, slow your roll, kid.
Yeah.
Slow your roll.
Yeah.
But my 20-year-old, like, yeah, she took right after me. All right, so where are we standing? There's a couple things going on with the corner up here real quick before we start really diving into this parking lot. The Crude Cafe behind you, the white building, the 2-story, is haunted. They say they have an alleged suicide that haunted the place. I'm having a hard time trying to find the records. It used to be a slave home. So they don't have titles and deeds, nor did they have addresses. So I don't know if that's a reconstruct, a rebuild, tear down. I have no idea what the heck that building is. I did get a little bit of an EMF spike when I did do a quick tour upstairs while the restaurant was open downstairs. I could probably debunk it pretty easily with some of the old wiring, but until I do a full investigation, and even on my podcast, if the place isn't haunted and I did the investigation, I still give it on the podcast. So it's not just about like all the great ratings I'm looking for. It's about I'm doing this shit for real. Just past the Crude Cafe is a stop sign, and the peninsula of Charleston used to be much skinnier. You know, the shit we have now on the outside is all man-made. So revolutionary times, the ship rolls up, shoots a cannon, and it lands right at that stop sign. No deaths, no tragedies. I usually tell this little tidbit for the history buffs, but we did find pieces of the cannonball there, and it's still a neighborhood, you know, from that same time period. So again, it's an interesting part of our history just to find random cannonballs all over. So this, have you guys ever done a carriage ride? No. Okay. Dude, it's one of the most romantic things ever.
We haven't done one.
spend
this is
months
where they
worth.
keep the horses for those carriage rides. That's what this stable is. So the horses are still in there. We don't have any lasers, so I'm not too worried about that. There's lasers that I hand out so we can find different spooky stuff in between the lasers and shit. But we're not really dealing with that. And because it's just the three of us, we're pretty much going to stick together all night. A lot of times I say, all right, go explore after I give direction. But we're going to stick together so I can really gauge you guys. But this is also the same red barn where they kept the horses that delivered milk to Charleston. So that kind of gives you an idea of how old it is. 1860s and 1920s. There's no other history that I can find anywhere, even in the historical records of Charleston, about this building. These guys don't have any ghost stories or any weird hauntings for me, but this lot right next to it is haunted. So we're walking on a sewer line. We have different types of materials, so it's great for thermal imaging. You got the metal, you got brick, asphalt, wood, obviously the cement post, foliage. There's all kinds of shit in here. And I do have different temperature, like thermometers, to try to gauge and figure out and debunk what's going on if you do happen to find a cold spot. But we're going to kind of walk around with that, but our focus is probably going to be on the EMF and your spirit box. So spirit box sessions, like on TV, they start randomly asking questions. So my hands are sticky all of a sudden. But, oh, by the way, COVID stuff, masks, they are giving fines. I do have one, if you guys are...
I have one, right?
Yeah, I seen you both have one getting out of the car.
Yeah.
Your devices have been disinfected, all that stuff.
Not afraid of it.
I'm not either.
We're going to funeral home.
Yeah.
Not afraid.
Honestly, when I got tested and half my family had to get tested up north in Ohio, and they all come back negative and they're all terrified, I mean, you guys are ridiculous. So, anyway.
Not worried about it.
Spirit box sessions, to me, you're going to get more out of it because the spirit needs time to muster up the energy to actually give us an answer. Now, things should start spouting off, and things start to make sense. Like John's teammates, for example. He played for the 1947 Giants, by the way. That was what he did. His name was John Kennedy. And his teammates have come through quite a bit. Tomorrow is actually the anniversary of John's death. So I'll be interested to see, and that's why another reason why I took that tour for tomorrow, because I was like, it's John Kennedy's death anniversary. I want to see what the hell's going to come out of that. But at any rate, I ask one question that's a non-yes or no question, and I'm going to ask it once every 30 seconds or so. So, and I want something at first that I actually know the answer to. So what color is the barn? You wait 30 seconds. If you don't get an answer, can you tell me what color the barn is? Kind of rephrase it for them. It might be, the time period of the things that we're saying are wrong. Like I never use the word device. I always say the word box. Look at this box with the lights on it. Can you make it go to red? You know, those are things that are universal throughout time. Red and box, those are the key terms. I'm a wordsmith, can you tell? So I really want to phrase those questions to kind of provoke the answers. You know, asking if somebody here is a yes or no question. The S and O in those two words are two of the most common phonetic sounds in the English language. So we can mistake horses for yes very easily if we don't get the pronunciation properly. So again, we're going to be looking at your shirt for... Sorry we put that on her chest, dude. I feel kind of rude about it now.
It's easy
I'm
to
happily
see.
married, so no worries. But at the same time, we're going to be looking for those high EMF spikes, and then we're really going to start with the spirit box. We're going to try to keep it at an audible level in here, just because the horses will get spooked. Again, when I have kids with lasers, I really have to watch them and babysit because they want to flash them everywhere, and they're ridiculous because they're not one laser dot. It's a spray of lasers. So when I could shoot that building over here and we could see the full spray, no problem, from here. Like that's how strong it is. And they're like waving it into ponies and then they're wondering why their horses are kicking.
Yeah.
So it does happen, but we'll be fine. I'm trying to think what else do we have. My spirit box, like we'll kind of keep an eye on it for now, just to see what it's doing. I got the word excuse, continent, alternative, Karen, Elizabeth, and sauce. None of those mean jack shit to me because that wasn't even another investigation that I'm looking into of a building nearby. Sometimes that'll come through. I don't really talk about it much because it's so recent and it's kind of a touchy subject. So I'm kind of just waiting to see if more evidence pops up through next quarters. But if none of that even makes sense with John and his teammates. So let's turn your spirit box up a little bit and kind of give you a gist. Maybe we'll walk around and see where your EMF takes us. That was the little turnstile at the top.
Oh, okay.
Let's go ahead and get it a little bit more juice just so we can all hear it. Perfect.
Right there?
Yep. So when we're walking through these places, I mean, it's a nice slow sweep if you can just, with the umbrella, try to keep it dry. And it doesn't have the cell phone technology that we have with cameras, but you already knew that. Do you use the same device at work?
No, cell phone. I got a camera.
Okay. Is it FLIR?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you know that the camera technology is not there, it's the thermal that we're after. Okay, I don't have to explain anything. So he's gonna watch the video tomorrow and point out shit that I didn't even see. So let's see if we can get some questions answered. So let's walk and wait for your shirt to light up. There it is. Saw a little blip. See if we can find some red areas. Something a little bit stronger. Storage. After a few attempts of trying the same question over and over again, everything, oh, just had a blip there. Alright, let's stop here for a second. This just kind of randomly, so I'm looking for a rhythm first. Nope, it's going all the way up to red. Alright, cool. So, I don't see much of a rhythm or a pattern, and there's nothing on me that's making it go off. My cell phone's not going to make it go that far. It says the word tree, so I'm wondering if it's actually by the tree or if it's actually hanging out by the tree. Alright, so let's get a little bit more volume out of that. Perfect. So, if there's actually somebody here, I want you to tell me what color this barn is next to me. What color is this building? You have several boxes you can talk to. You can talk to the box with the red lights, or you can talk to my box with the blue light. Can you tell me what color this building is next to me? Something there. So I'm literally listening to the chatter. So if I can make something out, is when I'm going to probably repeat it back. We won't stop the recording. It'll just be a marker for me to check out to verify it again through the thing. There's black. Alright, you went back down to green, so let's move again. And honestly, guys, this is more of a practice area when I have the big teams. In fact, flip it again. The big teams, once I explain everything, I kind of let them explore, get used to the devices, and then we actually learn a little bit more history. It's not going to be chintzy, this is all I got. It's going to be some full history on the next locations. Alright, we're trying to find you. We're by the red barn. Can you tell us what's inside the red barn? What's that one in there?
I don't think he's in there.
Rubber plant. What kind of animals are inside this barn? I'm not getting anything on mine either. So again, this app's meant to be a game or a hoax. So if this was sitting in my living room, a place that's not haunted, trust me, I tested, it would just give me words every 3 to 5 minutes. Just a random word. It's meant to be a fun little prank for college kids, but it comes through with valid evidence all the time. And I purchased the upgraded version just to get the bigger vocabulary. As always, here's blitzing again, and it stopped. It was going pretty wild there for a second. Technology. Yes, this is very high-tech stuff. They're boxes to you. Let's try a different question. Can you tell us what kind of weather we're having right now? You can obviously see we have umbrellas out. There's water on the ground. What kind of weather are we having? You notice I'm also looking for one-syllable answers. So I know it's easier for them to muster up. heard lightning. We'll have to definitely check that. We are 33 minutes in. So when I give that recording back to you, it's an MP3, so you guys can use sliders on your computers or whatever you want to. But I think we actually have a pretty good gist of how to use this stuff. So let's go learn some actual history. You look a little bored. You're like, I'm at work, using my normal stuff. Nah, let's handle this. I said grandkids. I wouldn't guess you guys would have been older than me.
47.
41.
43.
That's pretty close.
I'm the one that has grandkids.
Oh.
He doesn't have any. My kids are 20 and 24.
I got an 11-year-old.
You got 20 and 14.
I got an 11-year-old.
Yeah? Boy, girl?
Girl.
Girl. 2 girls. Where are they at? Where's all these kids? Did you guys
Mine
ride?
are still at home.
Oh, yeah,
Boy,
you're
girl.
grown.
2024 is still living with us.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd be
What?
booting them out.
Well, the grandson belongs to the oldest one, and he's with us too. So can't boot him. We kind of like him a lot.
How do like it? How old's the grandson?
5, and then I have another one that's 4.
Alright. Promise it's not parking lots all night long. What's that?
It was going to red. Is that because we're walking under the...
Not necessarily. So it'll probably go red throughout this entire lot. Go ahead and cut that off for a second.
Oh, okay.
Turn it down. There you go. So this is actually a pretty important lot for Charleston. It's going crazy. So this is actually home to Charles and Eliza Pinckney. So you've probably seen the name Pinckney all over town. You've probably seen the word indigo all over town too. So this is where it all started. So Charles and Eliza had a son named Charles and they had a nephew named Charles. The son and the nephew, signers of our U.S. Constitution. The son was raised here, obviously. Obviously, it's just a random parking lot now. There will be a commercial hotel here within the next year or two. It's supposed to be this year, but COVID's interrupting everything. But anyway, I don't really care for politics, so I like to talk about Eliza. Eliza married Charles so that she could stay here in the United States. Her dad thought he was dying over in England. This is where the baked beans breakfast came from, by the way. He wanted all his kids home. She said no. She got married, became a citizen, stayed here. So dad got better. They made amends. Dad started sending her gifts. Eliza's garden would have been lined up with that blue dumpster right where we're standing. And he used to send her plants from England all the time, and one of those plants happened to be indigo. It makes blue dye that makes our blue jeans blue. We still use it today. It started right here. It became such a big cash crop, they had to move it over to Mount Pleasant over at Snee Farm. So that's why the Charles Pinckney Historical Monument is over there. It's a whole plat of land that they do just to Charles. I don't know why, because Eliza was the one that made it a big cash crop. So talking colonial times, she wasn't. She's going nuts. There was no businesswomen during that time. She was the businesswoman that sold indigo overseas, which is what saved Charleston after our rice plantations went to shit. So this is a big deal, this lot. I don't think there's any other tour that comes through here. I'm here twice a night most weeks, and never do I see anybody coming in. So, a couple things about Eliza that we can ask the spirit box. She was the second wife named Eliza from Charles, so she goes by her maiden name, so it's Eliza blank Pinckney. They had 4 kids. I already told you one was named Charles. She only had 1 daughter out of those 4 kids. So I tried it because it's very specific. Let's try to find out what the daughter's name is. Again, I'm giving you questions that we're not going to know the answers to, that you don't know the answers to. So I know what I'm listening for, but I want you to get used to that spirit box and what we're going to gauge. What was the other thing here? You can ask her what her favorite plant is, if I can remember what it is. It's not indigo. You can ask what happened to the mansion. It was actually laid out in front facing East Bay Street. Get kind of different responses there too. And sometimes Charles likes to come forward. Charles, I know it's Charles because when he's here, he likes to give me the word October. That was the month he was born in and the month that he died in. Sometimes he gives it to me twice, just so I know that it's him. He's an ass like that. Again, I don't really go after Charles unless it's a thing. Our light is pulsing. Go ahead and pull your EMF out of your pocket for a second. You want me to hold the spirit box? I'm going to point something out here. So when that light is blinking, a lot of times it's in sync with what your EMF is doing. So if you hold it up like you're going to take a selfie, it's usually within 2 frames on a video. So I've tested it several times. When that thing gives us a nice big jumping pulse, that's when we usually spike up to red. So it's an interesting thing that I just like to point out, that the energy in this place is pretty high. As you notice, like, her EMF has been going crazy since we walked in here. And it's pretty nuts. There's nothing underneath here. They're not even going to do an archaeological dig. They've never done one. They don't know what's under here. So it's kind of interesting that they're not going to do that, because we do have a ton of archaeologists that live here. I'm sure they would love to come down here and start digging stuff up. I mean, the slave quarters were in the back. We can learn more about them. You know, whatever the seeds were in the garden, I'm sure there's still bulbs and stuff like that from the plants. We can learn so much about Eliza.
So is that just like a regular outdoor light over there?
It's a regular motion light. It should stay on, and sometimes it stays on, and sometimes it's not on at all. Sometimes it's just a weak pulse. Tonight it's actually a pretty good pulse, and sometimes it's like a damn strobe light. I mean, it just depends. Every night is different. So.
Like
All right, so let's trying to think if there's anything else I needed to have you guys ask. But we'll kind of see what comes up out of your spirit box, and then maybe we'll play with mine for a second. But if we can, we're going to go up to that corner next to the truck. If you guys can watch your umbrellas around the truck, of course. That's where the fire occurred from the house. I know I just gave you one of the answers, but that's where I get most of my activity from my spirit boxes. So let's head up that way. Trying to keep it this way so it doesn't get as wet. Let's turn yours down for a second. Try to use this one. Eliza, it's Nick. I want you to tell me how many people I have with me tonight. Not 10. Try again. Three. You guys hear that? It said with me, which I was looking for the number 2, but the number 3 is all of us. Okay, Eliza, thank you for that. Can you tell us what happened to your house? Eliza, I got all of the communication devices, the boxes over here with me. Pick any one of them. I want you to tell me what happened to your house. But he knew what? Rewind by 5 seconds. So that chirping sound you're hearing is coming from this app, and that's where the bars start to go up and it gets a little bit more active, starts to be able to pick up a word. Eliza, let's move on to another question. If Charles is here, can you tell us his name? Normally when I bring a whole group here, like they're out exploring with the lasers and a different thermo, and I have them walk around and look for, see which car has been here the longest. That's usually the test I give them. So that way I know that they're looking at the actual heat signatures. Okay, Eliza, let's try something else. What month were you born in?
See the heat off that motor?
What's that?
You can see the heat off the motor.
Yep. Well, usually what I have them look for is to see, obviously, that the heat from the car projects downward.
Right.
So an empty car space next to it is going to look ice cold, but it's really only like 5 degrees difference because it's just spreading out. But I really have them start diving into different things here between that first lot and this one. This way they get a gist of what they're looking for the rest of the location. It's just different materials. They all do something different. Eliza, tell me what your daughter's name was. Now we might get a delayed response. Like if we walk out of here, as in like, yeah, we're gonna get, they usually come a few minutes later. Just a few seconds, just enough for her to muster up that energy and keep it going. So again, there's usually my spirit box and then 2 others walking around the word cry. So let's go with wet. Can you tell me what our weather is right now? I'm gonna give you the answers to all those other questions too, don't worry. Did I hear it's rainy? Rewind by 5 seconds. Roger. It's not even spelled properly. What the heck was the last question I asked? I forgot. Oh, her month, her birthday month. Eliza, tell us what month you were born in. Let's turn yours on for a minute. Let's turn yours up and see if we get any answers out of that. Eliza, we're using a different box now. Use the one with the red lights. Tell us what month you were born in. I'm not getting much out of this at all. I'm wondering if the rain's dampering things. So Eliza died in Philadelphia. She was up there on business. She was 70, and she died of breast cancer. So there's the answers to those questions. Obviously, you know the house caught on fire. I come here because it happened on the 2nd floor here. Daughter's name was Harriet. Her maiden name was Lucas. So she goes by Eliza Lucas Pinkney. So if any of those things pop up while we're moving to our next location, we obviously know we have something legit. So I am going to move us along only because I don't feel like we're getting any answers. Oh, she was born in December. The other night I got the number 22, and I was like, one of my team was like, well, let's just look up Eliza and see where 22 falls. Maybe she was 22 when she got married. She was 22 when she got married, and she was born on December 22nd. So it was a direct reference to her. So I felt like that was pushed to me. So I'm not really sure if that's relevant to anything. I don't think it is. It's not a story that I know. But we're going to walk up East Bay Street. It's about 4 blocks. By all means, keep filming so that way you still have everything. It is. I don't think the cops are really doing anything about masks. So it's up to you guys.
We've been walking all over town, not wearing them outside.
Well, usually when you're within your own household, it's usually like smoking and drinking outside. Like I'm a vaporizer. I'm sure you caught on to that. That's my out. Because I vape when I go up to the next location. But we're going to head up to Lodge Alley. Kind of check that place out. Have you guys been there before?
We looked today. Is that where that hotel was or something?
I think so.
Lodge Alley.
Lodge Alley Inn. Does that sound familiar? It's a yellow building.
Yeah, we went through there.
Okay. Well, we're gonna go past it, and there's an alley right next to it from East Bay. I'll tell you what the heck's going on up there because there's all kinds of crazy shit. But we can chat. You were pretty quiet. I thought you'd be the chatty one.
He's taking it in.
get all ages on that. Like I get little kids to grandmas. And last week I had a lady come trip out of there, maybe it was 2 weeks ago, with my daughter. She tripped coming out of there and almost landed on East Bay Street.
Right.
I mean, she was chuckling the whole time. Like she's like, I'm gonna fall. Please don't. Please don't fall.
Thought you were gonna wear tennis shoes.
I decided not to. These are fine.
Feet hurt, so it's almost done. Normally when the weather says 47%, I'm good to go. If it goes above 55%, that's when I really start watching closer. But we were at 47% all day. By the way, I mean, the restaurant is still open. You guys good?
Yeah, we came right through here today. Say, bud.
Get a whole different perspective of the city doing it like this. So I wasn't thinking it was going to be busy at all down here. Sunday, first of all. Oh, and I don't drink.
No, yeah?
Yeah. I have epilepsy, so not a drop. About once a year, when I know I'm staying home for the night and the wife's home, I'll take one in. But it's a sipper. Might as well put a nipple on it, yeah. So where exactly is, where did you say it was? Portersville? Is that what it is?
Proctorville.
Proctorville.
It's right on the West Virginia border.
You know
Okay.
the movie We Are Marshall?
Never seen it.
Huntington, West Virginia. We're right across the river.
Well, I used to go to the Rivers Casino quite a bit, so I probably passed through it and didn't even realize it. Gotta get it right now. My wife is actually from Pittsburgh, but we met down here. My current wife, anyway. Mom number 2.
I'm sure they're in the back.
See every time you walk around, down the bridges again.
A little homely, didn't it?
Yeah.
Be out on a Sunday night.
That's where we had lunch at today. Magnolias.
Yeah?
Yeah.
We're making it right. This is the Lodge Valley Inn. All over back here.
Yeah, that's what we were looking at that.
That was Magnolia's.
It was
It
wonderful.
was good.
We don't eat out. So I
I
usually
had
have
the
to ask.
flounder.
I heard it's phenomenal.
It was very good. And the fried green tomatoes.
That's a pretty picture spot. I get a lot of weird blue anomalies down here. Just happen to randomly show up. My phone wants to work. Whereas I never. That's right. We'll get one coming back.
very old street.
What's that?
It's a very old street.
Yep. Well, I bring you guys down here. A little wet tonight, but we're alright. I'm actually gonna go up to the doorway so I can stay dry. Alright, so this is Lodge Alley. Try to grab my phone off real quick to get the spirit box running. So this is actually one of the oldest streets in Charleston. Obviously by the width of it, the clay bricks. This is a place where the Masons used to meet, which is very interesting. So that was before this was an actual residential neighborhood. These two buildings weren't here. They were little shacks all lined up down the edge. We did an archaeological dig in between these clay bricks, and they found some of their silverware, some of their food, articles of clothing, and they were able to classify these people as lower class. You also have to remember, Charleston was skinnier. The water's this way. Low tide, probably not a very pleasant place to live. So, I mean, that low tide comes in, it's nasty. You can tell when it's low tide for us for sure. I do get names right here quite a bit. That shadows come through on the thermal imaging camera. I'm able to debunk it with a digital camera that another person would have at the same timestamps. Don't get a whole lot of EMF down here, so when it does happen, it's a big deal. It's not like the Pink Mansion site where the whole thing lights up like a Christmas tree. It's like, I was kind of watching as we were walking through. Nothing came in. You're going to have a little bit of magnolia because of the building. The building sets off a lot of EMF from the lighting and things like that. The half wall up there, that's where I caught the shadow figure up there on the left. So as we're walking by, they have the sand in there, Mary. You said that earlier. Right next to Crown Square. So are you guys familiar with a book called The Secret by Byron Price? It's a treasure hunt. It was written in 1982. 12 different cities, 12 different treasures. So each treasure is a task box with a key inside that goes supposed to go back to the author and gives you the jewel for that particular zodiac of that painting. In order to figure out, it gives you a painting and a verse for every treasure. Only 3 out of the 12 have been found so far, and one of them is here in Charleston. Of course, after I quit a 6-figure job, I'm only working on a master's degree. I got some time on my hands. I don't have a whole lot of tours yet. I started diving into this puzzle. Me, my wife, who was like, no, that's interesting. It was steady. I'm gonna, it's gotta be from the building. My silent partner, who's a historian, he's a tour guide, he does history tours. My wife is in graphic design and photography. She took the painting, I took the poem, and verified everything with the historian. Boots on the ground with my daughter, we figured it out. I had to convince the city to give me permission to dig. I've been waiting through COVID. I had my permission and all my papers signed in February, ready to go. And I've been waiting since then. So I had to go in front of the city, 3 different committees, PowerPoint presentations, suit and tie, to get permission to dig. Nobody lets you do shit here. Like, not even a GPR on the ground, no ground penetrating radar. I got permission to put a shovel to the ground. Marion Square is part of my puzzle solve that I had to prove to them. Like, this is a big deal. So it's part of it. It's not all of it. I can't reveal it. I'm not allowed to talk to reveal it. Oh, excuse us. It's time to stay dry, buddy. But I'm not allowed to talk about part of my solve. I had a 50-page PowerPoint presentation, photos, links, data, everything we found and how we figured it out. So when I'm done and I actually dig this freaking thing out of the ground, I'm going to write a book about how I did it, charge $40 to $50 for the book, and then I'll do a tour to show how I did it and charge $50 a head. There are thousands of people. There's a Facebook page. You should check it out. It's called The Secret by Byron Price. It's interesting to watch all these crazy people go through their theories. I contacted Expedition Unknown with Josh Gates. Nothing. I contacted Travel Channel. Nothing. Contacted the leader of the podcast of the people trying to solve all these. Nothing. So I'm like, screw you guys. I'll make an arm and a leg off of this. These people are just finding it to find it. This is part of my business. Like I said, I'll make a tour out of it. No problem. It's an easy hour tour. Easy. So I could probably stretch it to an hour and a half if I needed to. But anyway, you guys are picture takers at night as we get to the end of this, when you want to get out your cell phone, St. Glove's steeple is in the background. There's these old buildings here on the left, and you captured all of that. It's a gorgeous picture. Sorry. Just giving you the touristy stuff too.
Yeah.
Bigger. You can actually turn your spirit box here. I'll take the spirit box for a few minutes while if you wanted to take that picture. Trying to give us a listen. I'll listen for names. I do get quite a few names. I do have the list of the residents that used to live here. So that way, when a name pops up, I can verify it.
Right.
The name Benjamin pops up often.
It's
1800.
kind of an old, that's a name back in the 1800s.
Yesterday we had the name Alex. So it's kind of like my daughter, I was like, look up the archaeological dig real quick. And she's like, well, there was an Alexander. So when I started reading more of the PDF about the dig, there was actually an Alexander school from a guy named Alexander who was teaching people about his trade out of his home that lived here. So me, I'll take Alex, that's a good one. But yeah, you can see, I mean, if you walk this right side, you can see that perfect shot.
Wow, I didn't know it was going to be a flash. Sorry.
Way to that side, see the water.
Oh, I see it now.
Yeah, if you come over here to the right, you can see it better. Got it? Cool. We're actually going to get closer to it. There's another great shot, too.
I didn't know it was going to flash in your face.
I was like, what the heck?
It didn't flash.
We're going to actually cross the street. This is a neighborhood. These are people's homes. I'm sure you guys have been up here.
The rain's slowing down.
Yeah, I think it's,
Seems like it.
yeah, it's slowing down.
See, I knew we'd left out. That's not bad. So if you stand like right at this crossroads right here, it's a perfect shot right in between the trees there. I've been checking out your shoes all night, man. Are those like West Virginia shoes?
Yeah.
I'm not a sports guy, so all that John Kennedy stuff, I've had to memorize all those facts because I don't follow sports. I'm a nerd, man. I read books and read into history more.
Well,
I can write better books than myself. Alright, so we stop out here because that alley that we're gonna walk through is really popular for ghost tours. We probably walked through it years ago. It's that popular. We actually have the gadgets to prove if it's true or not. So the story's pretty simple. You might have even heard this one when we came 5 years ago. There's a doctor, Joseph Brown Ladd, that moved down here from Rhode Island. The initials RI. Keep that in mind because it shows up
That-
again later.
check this out. Check to the left of the hot spot.
See it? That's the stop sign.
I don't know what it is.
Let's walk closer.
See, the stop sign to me looks like it's up higher. Now it's showing more of the stop sign.
But I still see a cold spot next to that.
Yeah.
So the shadow would be
It
underneath.
looked like there was something there a minute ago when we were back there.
I know. Let's get technical with it. Let's not guess. I got thermometers to gauge. It's weird because nobody's ever caught anything in this lot before, so it'll be interesting if we do.
just something different.
Yeah. Well, I got the ambient thermometer and I got the infrared, so let's do a surface temp first. So right up top by the stop sign,
Right there.
right there, I've got 74.1.
79, 80 on here.
There's something there. They're not synced up. So if I go just to the right of it, I got 75. And then right there where that blue spot is on your screen, 74. Let's see if there's something. I mean, that's not much of a temperature. It's dropping.
This spotlight right here is really.
It's not dropping by much. It's not even a full degree. But it's still going down. I don't feel a draft. Let's get your EMF over here and see what it's doing. Stand right next to this thing. It's so weak, I've never had that. So, humidity meter, psychrometer.
Use those all the time.
Yep. As you can tell, somebody broke the cap. I did electrical tape it to keep the probe intact. But I usually do a surface temp first, just to make sure it's not the building. I don't see anything weird. There's a little bit of a height right here. I'll have to like 75. There's only like a 1 degree difference. I'm not getting so excited about that. I usually wait for 10. There's a cold area. What is
It's
that?
like 97 on
Holy
here.
cow. Like, I just felt like this right here was pretty cold. Again, I never put my feelings in this shit, so I wanna, that's why I use instruments. It says 75.9.
But sure, this temperature's going up.
Again, I just felt something cold right here.
It's 100 degrees.
Where? That's your thumb.
Where do you see that?
That's your finger.
Ah!
I was like, what the hell? I just changed hands and I was like, why is it?
Debunked.
Yeah, but I literally felt something cold right
Well,
here.
it was,
But I
the
don't have
temperature was dropping over here a while ago. I kept thinking, man, hey, why is it getting so hot?
Well, that's why we got it on video.
Change it back.
Yes, you're right.
Hey,
Alright, so the doctor, Rhode Island, moves down here because he's supposed to get married to his fiancée, Amanda. Amanda, her parents just died. She inherited a shit ton of money. The lawyer handling that money said, you're not getting married. Send the doctor away. So the doctor comes down here to start his practice and to show that he's not just after the money. The coachman that brings him into town set him up to be robbed and killed. A man passing by, his name Ralph Isaacs, initials R.I. I bring that up because it comes up on my digital word spirit box quite often. I'll either get R or just I or some of them together. Ralph was an attorney in town, just a regular Charlestonian, says, you don't want to stay here, let me take you somewhere else. So he takes him over to 59 Church Street. It's about a mile and a half that way. And actually, St. Philip's is on Church Street, so that kind of tells you which direction it is. Anyway, gets him a safe place to stay, and the two become friends. So the doctor's doing pretty well. His practice is moving along. He's making a lot of money. He becomes known as the Whistling Doctor. So if you Google the Whistling Doctor, this is the long story you get. They make it pretty dramatic. I don't. So, I know, right? So the two become friends, but the doctor is moving up in society. So when they go see plays together and go out together, they have to sit in different seats. So they go see Richard III from Shakespeare. They have to talk about the play on the way home. They Dr. Lutz and the actress in town. Ralph was not thinking of an insult party on the doctor's fiance. They get pissed off at each other. They leave. Ralph, having ties in Charleston, because he's from here, breaks in the paper what a disgrace the doctor is to the family. Big attitude. Takes the money, he's not from here, yada yada. The doctor rebuttals with, let's go to Dueler's Alley and settle this. So this is Philadelphia Alley now, but before it was called Dueler's Alley. So when dueling became stupid and illegal, they changed the name. Philadelphia saved us from one of our many, many fires. So they come down here, they take their 20 paces, they turn, they shoot, the doctor points his gun in the air and shoots. They didn't want to kill his friend, but Ralph took 2 shots below the knees on the doctor. The doctor drops. And normally the loser of a duel is dead, right? He would normally go through the doorway that's in the opposite wall of the alley, through the courtyard of St. Philip's, dropped in their grave that's pre-dug over at the cemetery, throw some dirt, go celebrate with a pint. That was how it went, but the doctor didn't die. He just dropped to his knees. Friends pick him up, carry him home to 59 Church Street. He dies 10 days later. It's said as you walk through the alley, you can hear him whistling. Everybody in Charleston knows this damn story and tries to mess with us all the time. You now have an example on your audio of what not to listen for. I have 2 that I can't debunk. In the past year, I've been investigating this place. So when you're listening to your audio, turn it up in the car. Did you guys fly down? Oh, I saw the Uber.
Yeah, we drove. Actually, we just left the car at the hotel.
No, fair enough. But you're going to be turning this up and listening to see what you can actually hear. It's going to be very faint. They also say you can hear gunshots. My 4th of July tour was a disaster. I skipped right over this part. I wasn't trying to debunk fireworks from gunfire, nor have I ever caught gunfire. It's a rumor. So if I catch one, awesome. The whistles were also a rumor. But I did find 2 of those. On top of the historical piece of why that doorway is there, the bricks we're going to walk on as we go through this are going to get older. So these up here were replaced and repaired in the 1990s, but those down there are sun-dried bricks from slave children. We still have their fingerprints and 1 full handprint at the end. I'll point it out. We're a small group. Normally I would say we got to keep walking, but if you want a picture of it, just kind of have your camera ready. But it's not a proud moment for Charleston, but it's still there. It's actually in 3 different places all around town. If you Google handprints Charleston, you'll see our newspaper article that tells you exactly where they are. This is one of them. I'm trying to think. I don't get a whole lot of EMF that comes through here, except for by the Footlight Players Club is over there. That's the actor studio for Dock Street Theater. Their equipment's always on, so I don't get excited there. I've never had EMF or anything happen around the handprint, but my daughter has. Somebody was getting a spirit box session as I kept going to the next location, and they stopped because they thought they were going to get something, and him and my daughter, they had the SB7, so it didn't record a damn thing, nor did my daughter think to take her phone out and record it. So I don't have any evidence, but my daughter's pretty savvy with this stuff. Half these gadgets used to be hers. Like, this was a birthday gift for her, so when I quit my job, I said, I need your shit back. She's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I found a new job, and this is what I'm going to be doing.
I need to borrow that.
I think she was 12 when I gave it to her, and then I kept expanding the kit. Obviously, you can imagine I didn't start off with $800 worth of equipment. It was like, all right, we got a recorder and an EMF. Let's go ghost hunting. And then it just evolved, and I'm still buying more stuff. My wife said, when are you going to stop buying? And I never. Gotta keep moving this
Can't have enough.
Well, the goal is that we actually have a shop. So in about a year or 2, we're getting ready to, we're building a house right now. So once we get all of that credibility, then we're going to hopefully have a shop. So Big John's would be ideal, because what we want to do is half bookstore for paranormal stuff, half ghost hunting equipment. My wife is in photography, so she would take you guys into the green room, take your thrill ride photo, put the Stories in a Cemetery stamp on it. We go back, meeting place, you guys get your picture, it's part of your tickets. Not to mention, there are 2 apartments upstairs. They're 3 bedrooms each. I will rent those out for $500 with a ghost kit in each. They get an hour training session. They do all the recording. I upload it for them in the next morning. Again, $500 a pop in Charleston. I'll get it. And of course, the Stories in a Cemetery logo, like, we already have signs being prepared. Like, we're having them wood carved. So, like, it's going to have that old nostalgic feel to it.
Nice.
And my wife does photo restorations and all kinds of shit.
We'll be back.
Yeah, it's going to be huge. So, I mean, granted, this is... I actually love tours like yours, because I've been screaming over helicopters from the riots all weekend, and protests, and
Yeah, we
like,
didn't even know till last night.
well, I
You
did-
got a text from the hotel saying, "Hey, there's going to be a heavy police presence tonight because there's a Black Lives Matter."
Yep. And it's been Thursday night was the worst because they were low. Those helicopters were like touching the trees. for
Wow.
me. And I'm like trying to tell stories out here, and I mean, I almost like this morning I woke up and I was just like dog tired from trying to scream. And I was like, I don't mean to be a drill sergeant, you know, but it was loud.
Yeah, we saw them protesting at the market last night. They were up on the steps. It was at the market, wasn't it?
At the front of it, I take it.
Yeah.
On Meeting Street.
Yeah.
With half of them were
It was
white
mostly white people.
engagement.
The doctor was engaged to Amanda.
Yeah,
Is that the word engagement?
And lady.
And we got lady. I've been getting the word poem over here, and I didn't realize like what it actually meant. It turns out that the doctor actually wrote a big girl. So we gotta pick one, lady or girl. But he actually wrote poetry quite often, and his sister published all of his work after he died. So I've been trying to find a cheap copy of it, but I have like an ebook version of it. But I mean, I want an original. Like, so I've been digging around. I can't find one for less than $40. I've read it already. It's actually not too shabby. I mean, we're talking mid 1800s, so I mean, the language is it's New Old English, so it's here without the H with the apostrophe and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, but trying to teach
I
my.
have a lot of old books.
You can imagine the extent of my library, having the degrees that I do, and I've been studying. And the reason why I did so well with my degrees in the first place is because I already owned half the books. Even for my master's degree, I already bought a lot of the authors that I knew I would want to study, and they were already in my library. What's great is I get to read a lot of Stephen King because he's, you know, I think the last book I just read for my last class was 11/22/63, one about Kennedy's and assassination. Amazing book, absolutely amazing. But that's what I had to study. Chapter like that. It's a 900-page book. In 10 weeks. I was reading a lot. This rarely happens that it's empty. This is the most beautiful place in all of Charleston. Did you want a picture? I'm just offering because I know you guys' hands are full.
Yeah, I think I'm all wet.
Usually there's 3 or 4 tours in here, normally. Like, this is a popular spot. And it sounds like this even on a busy Saturday afternoon. This is how quiet this is.
Nice.
You can't hear East Bay Street from here. Got Jupiter. I'm trying to figure out what that translates to zodiac-wise. I'll have to look that up. Sorry, I'm a big zodiac person, as you can imagine. All my tattoos are all planets and moons and stars and shit of my kids. And, yeah, I got one kid born on Halloween, and then the other one, her ruling planet is the moon. So her name is the wise protector of the fortress of the moon, London Ray. That's her name. So, again, I'm obviously into the zodiac.
I'm gonna grab that.
Sorry, you guys are getting my whole family history with this toy.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh no.
sometimes it tells us what's actually happening.
Interesting.
Very cool. We'll take it. Last night it actually said make a right as I was walking out of the down those steps. As I always tell people, if you want to go check out the doorway, make a right. So as we were walking down the steps, it said make a right. But yeah, the cemetery is actually directly in front of this.
Okay. Yeah, we walked by this today.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
There's a lot of
I
stories
said
there, too.
we'll end up in the middle of that cemetery tonight.
Now, the reason why we don't actually walk through cemeteries with this is because you're walking in one. The amount of tragedies and stuff that's actually happened here, between the fires, the wars, the famine, there's just, we're walking on graves right now.
You just know the bottom of the window.
Yeah, but if you're a ghost, are you going to hang out where you're buried? Exactly.
Unless you're a homebody.
Eliza came all the way from Philadelphia to hang out in her house down here.
Yeah.
So, but there, like, let's say I actually have a private tour tomorrow, because they pay extra for their tickets. I'll take them to those extra legends in Lower Charleston. Don't capture any data, but I do take them up by the church and show them the cemetery there and why the sign says there's no ghost in the St. Philip Cemetery, but the Holy Ghost. You guys know that story? So, third. So there was a woman, Sue Howard Hardy, in 1888, who died 10 days after her stillborn child. 1989, 101 years later, we had a photographer in town taking pictures of all of our cemeteries, and he caught a full apparition. We're talking 1989. There's no cell phones, there's no any of that stuff. Photoshop. They sent it to Kodak to try to debunk the picture, and they couldn't. So the sign says there's no ghost here besides the Holy Ghost, because they don't want guys like me diving in looking for this ghost. But the lasers, there's nobody in that building back there, so we can shoot the lasers in there as I'm telling their stories, and you know, it gives them something extra to do with the lasers because they're kind of limited. You can start to see some of the fingerprints. When it's wet like this, you have to like walk up to it. You can see it better with the angle. There's a lot of good swipes over here.
Oh yeah.
Those are obvious fingerprints.
Yep.
Right
here.
It's actually right here. So one night a customer actually told me, because I noticed that the thumb actually overlaps the brick. So then I got the word drawing. So it's almost like they did this on purpose. Because, yeah, well, slave kids. That whole big building, that's their giant house. Like you see in that little courtyard back there?
Right there.
The back of the house.
That building right there.
The one we just walked by.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a one house.
That's one house.
And then
It's like
that's,
4.2.
A lot of money in this town.
Yes. So you guys lucked out too, because I jack up the prices for October. So they go up $8 a person. People, like, they're already starting to fill up. I'm already 15% full. Yep. Oh, plus there's nobody else in town that does what I do. I'm the only guy that does this. All the other ghost tours are pissed off because I'm the lone wolf. I don't work for a company. This is all me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I had sent it to him, and I was like, we really need to do something with
was it on Facebook?
it.
TripAdvisor.
TripAdvisor.
I get, because I do a lot of advertising on Facebook, because I create an event and just gets people interested in it, and that way I can kind of see what I'm going to be looking at for the month. So like September, it was crazy. I think I was like 75% full for the month of September.
Wow.
So I'm on TripAdvisor. I manage that too. I'm on Groupon. I'm on Expedia. You name it, I'm on it. Like that's how we
But it's
actually.
just so convenient, you know, when you're not actually down here before you come to go ahead and plan out.
So what some people will do come into Charleston, because I mean there's a lot of tours and all that kind of stuff, but they'll check Facebook for events around town. So have it listed there, but it still takes them back to my booking agent, which is Peak. So even like TripAdvisor, when you guys book there, it's sent it over to Peak, so I get the notification to meet you.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
it
she's
tells
paid
me
a
how
lot
many
of money
people
to
are
see
in my group that night. And that's when I text you guys in the morning, make sure you guys can receive text, because you're going to get the link in the morning. You know, it's all personalized. It's not any kind of redundant thing. It is a copy-paste, but it is very specific. If you respond to me, like, hey, I'm from Ohio, I say, oh, well, what part? I'm from Ohio. That way you know there's the person on the other end. I make
Yeah, I was, yeah, that was, when I got the response, I was like, well, this is not automated.
Right. So even imagine 10 people here, they would probably have, I mean, you guys obviously have my full attention, but I give as much attention to every person because I have to interact with their device. They have questions. Only certain areas we can use X amount of devices and I have to interact. And London's here, it's great because she helps me out. You know, she'll jump in, especially with the teenagers. She's 14, she loves when she gets on tour. And she just loves the fact that she's got the coolest guy in the world with those ghost hunters. One last building, guys. So this one over here, Catty Corner. Oh, you're from Ohio. You probably know what that means. I get a lot of Southerners. What's the hell's Catty Corner?
Yeah.
But this actually used to be a cotton warehouse. So obviously the warehouse was in the back and the offices were in the front. And that's facing East Station. Chill out, buddy. Not that serious. It's condos now, and they're turning it into a wedding reception area that's going to be considered waterfront. So it's going to be 3 floors plus a rooftop. I don't even want to know what that's going to
Oh,
run.
that was that cool building I was pointing out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a very cool building. So, here's the story. George Poirier inherited this cotton warehouse from his dad. Dad was pretty successful, kid was not. He had no idea. Silver spoon, no clue. Arms open to a bunch of debt. Neighbors inheritance. He's up shit creek. We also had the boll weevil in town. It's a little tiny bug that eats cotton. So now his crops are going down. And what's he going to do? He doesn't want to sell it to Americans because then they'll basically come back after him and try to give it back to him and whatever. He sells it to the British. So where Pineapple Park is now wasn't there, so he can see the ship roll in. He's watching from the second story floor. Your online stories will tell you third story. All the data that I get says number 2, second, so he watches the ship roll in. They unload from these back garages. These are original doors. Horse and buggy out to the ship. Once it's loaded, then they get too close to the pipe. The whole ship catches fire. Everybody either catches fire and dies, or they drown from jumping off the ship. And George watches the whole thing. He's already depressed because his dad's gone. You know, his father's legacy's now gone. What the hell's he gonna do? He didn't have enough money to pay off his American debts with the British money he was getting. He piles up all the furniture, captain's chair on top, climbs to the top, swings a noose, and hangs himself. If I don't put that captain's chair in that story, this will tell me chair every time. Like a reminder, like, dude, you forgot about that damn captain's chair. So at any rate, they say you can see the shadow of a swinging corpse on the second story floor. Now, we all know thermal imaging can't see through glass. So what am I looking for on this? When you go up there and give me a nice slow sweep on all those second story windows, I'm looking for one pane to get a little darker than the rest. Because they're going to fluctuate as he moves the camera. If one goes black, I'm going to investigate it further. Usually the camera person takes several pictures, so forth and so on. But I kind of go with what's actually happening. I've caught a few here and there. The panels went dark very quickly and then break right back up again. It just means something's influencing it from the other side. The other weird thing about this building, and you would actually appreciate this, in the back of the building, you guys see the peak? So in the front of the building is the same peak, only it's covered in stone. So it's like a white stone that goes all the way up. 5 feet below that, inlaid into the brick, is the same type of stone. It's only 5 feet below it, maybe 7 tops. 7 to 12 degree difference in temperature is normal, not 30. At times it'll go all the way up to 30 degrees difference, and not on a windy night, a night like this. So it makes no sense. The other weird thing about this building is that when I'm usually looking into this and what's in the spirit boxes and all of that, Coogan's porch is this way. Did you guys eat there yet? Oh.
We heard
Everybody.
it's good, but we
It is
decided
good.
on Magnolias.
It's a good breakfast place. I haven't really been there for anything else besides breakfast. Coogan is actually a dog. Coogan does not come through all of our stuff here. It's a dog. However, that place used to be a house, and a woman named Zoe St. Amand lived there with her sister. Zoe was a school teacher. Zoe died in the house by falling down the stairs. There's a hotel across the street from that restaurant, and they claim that lights will turn on and off, all kinds of shit. I get Zoe's name on my box. How do I know it's hers specifically? First off, it comes up often, and it's spelled Z-O-E. She's French. So if I get Zoe, as in Z-O-E, not E-Y, and then I get French, I know we're definitely onto something. If you ask Zoe what her house looks like now, because it wasn't a restaurant when she had it, she'll give you, restaurant is a long word. So sometimes I get restaurant, but sometimes I just get simple things like spoon, fork, eat, food. You know, very simple one-syllable things. This is a hit or miss type location. Sometimes I get both of them, give me words. Sometimes I don't get jack shit. It just depends. It's very weird because the construction in the front usually stirs things up. Usually when there's construction for a guy like me, I'm usually trying to put on a hard hat and pretend I work there. These guys won't let me in. They know, they see the EMF meter and they're like, no, you're not coming in. But it's going to be interesting once they finish it off. This place was also a brewery. There are several businesses in town that...
Is there something on the second floor up there, or the very
I think
top?
That's their condo.
Okay. It looks like the window's lit up
Yeah.
there.
And somebody will shut it off. That's probably like their bathroom or something. just based on the size of the window. But the brewery, the taps will turn on by themselves. Very cold drafts would come where there was no air conditioning vents. That place bolted out of town. There's another restaurant kind of close to Philadelphia Alley. It's called Bocce's. Shit moves around in there. Doors don't stay locked. It's right next to the market. If you know where Tommy Condon's is, the restaurant, it's right next door to it.
We were in there last night.
So, right next door to it, and that would be another great place for my Stories in Cemetery store.
What
'Cause
about
it's-
Five Church?
Five Church, I've talked to the event coordinator there. She parks where we start. So she'll come over and chat with me. And she's like, shit was moving around again. I'm like, you need to let me get my ass in there with my gadgets. But you got to remember, I started this with no gadgets. When I started investigating in general, before long, like 10 years ago, 11 years ago, I started working with a psychic. I was going to write a book about his ability. So we were going to haunted locations. That's how all of this really got stemmed. And we had so much activity in all of these locations, and we started getting doors slammed in our face. This is the Bible Belt. People do not want this stigma. So when I moved to Charleston, that was in Myrtle Beach. I lived up there for about 4 years with my ex-wife.
That's where we're going tomorrow.
Where are you going?
Myrtle
Specifically?
Beach.
Just the beach?
Harbor Lights.
Harbor. It's like a couple miles off the beach.
It's a blue-green.
It's on 17. I think it's.
Oh, you're going a little further north. So you're going to be in North Myrtle Beach. Because that's where all the resorts are.
No, we're staying right on. It's the one highway that comes right into Myrtle Beach.
I'm the passenger. He's the driver.
I can't
501?
remember. It's 501. It's right there at. It's like maybe 2 miles from the actual beach.
Okay, that's a good area. I actually used to live right down the street from there.
Close to Broadway, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, that's Carolina Forest. That's where I live. It's actually a really nice area. That was six-figure income type area. Oh no, you're gonna remind me later. It's trying to give me a suffer. Oh, look at that. Maybe Poogan will come
We
through.
were just talking about
We
Poogan.
were talking about him.
Well, I've actually heard a lady say hello at the funeral home.
Okay.
I was completely alone by myself in the basement where all the caskets are. And I heard someone say hello, and it sounded like it came from my office. I thought someone came in the door.
Yeah.
And I walked back upstairs. There's nobody there. Just nobody. And then there's our house museum in Galveston, Ohio.
Okay.
Like I've actually been touched by something. They say it's the man that used to own it. It used to be a bed and breakfast or something like that. Back in the 1780s.
Okay.
He's the one that built the house. And my dad and I were there doing a tour. And we do like Civil War reenactments.
Okay.
And so I was dressed in
Sure.
like this shirt and had my
That'll
hair
trigger.
pulled up and
Yeah, yeah.
stuff. And I felt fingers go straight down my neck.
Oh, shit.
And my dad felt something push him. And we weren't standing, we were probably standing like 3 feet apart.
Okay.
And one of the docents was giving us a private tour because we were playing.
Yeah.
And like nothing could have touched my neck, my hair, my shirt, because it was like the button up collar.
Mhm.
My hair was pulled up. Nobody was around me. But you could definitely feel it was 3 fingers go straight down my neck.
Any markings? Or just
No
roll
markings. Just, you could just feel it.
I just got back from, you gotta imagine my vacations too aren't normal. So I just got back from Pennsylvania and I did 5 investigations. My in-laws live in Pittsburgh and my wife says, we need to go visit mom and dad. I'm like, I'm going ghost hunting. So we're gonna be there for 7 days. I need 5 days of ghost hunting.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we did. Went to Gettysburg. We drove for 3 hours to get there. I did 3 locations there. And of course, these are all podcast episodes. At least the data is. And what's nice about that is now that I have it, I can turn it on, put it in my pocket, enjoy where I'm at, and listen to all the data later. It's amazing. But anyway, so I did 3 locations in Gettysburg, the Frank Lloyd Wright House, Falling Waters, which is gorgeous. I'm actually going to start on that starting tomorrow. And then I did Flight 93 in Shanksville. Holy shit. I didn't go in there disrespectful, and I wanted it because I released my episodes on Fridays. 9/11 fell on a Friday this year, so
Yeah.
it was perfect timing. I made it a full hour episode. Like, there was that much. Like, and what's weird is I lost the word list from this spirit box, but I was at Frank Lloyd Wright House before that same day, and that list all led to Flight 93. So it was like I was meant to lose the one that I recorded there and use that. It was listen to the podcast.
Yeah.
It's an interesting take. And I put a lot of audio clips in there from that day and that kind. I mean, I made it very respectful. It's more of a memorial. And again, I don't go in like asking the staff like, "Hey, what ghost stories do you have?" You know, there's people who mourn. You know, it's a place of mourning. So I mean, I really just turn this on, put it on my clip, put that in my pocket, and I had the digital camera hanging out of my cargo pocket, so that way it would still catch. But that place is very shimmery and shiny, so all the reflections, I'm like, I'm not fine with this. I at least have the audio from it, so I use the audio and I didn't catch anything. But those are my vacations. My wife wants a romantic vacation, we go to Savannah. She says, the next one, we're going to New Orleans. Like, I need haunted spots to go to.
I'm gonna go to Florida.
You want to or you would?
I want to.
That would be cool too.
Just the history.
We also, the touching it. So you can imagine I cut the air out here, but I do a lot of other things. Like these are all electronic things. I do have to record, sit down. I've heard like there's a place in Gettysburg that uses dowsing rods. I think there's a place in Savannah that does the same thing. Those are all manual items. Somebody can manipulate that. You can't manipulate data.
Yeah.
So
He lived in an apartment, a big apartment complex. I was getting ready for work one morning, and I had spent the night at his apartment, and he had already left. And I'm just like doing my makeup in the mirror, and in the mirror, I see in the hallway a girl walking down the hallway. And he had always said, he had never told me until I told him I saw someone in the apartment, that he felt like someone had passed him in the hallway. Well, I saw her, and it freaked me out. And I like just hurried up and grabbed all my shit and got out of there because it scared the shit out of me.
why? You're not gonna do it.
No, it just freaked me out. So it was maybe a couple days later, I had my grandson over there. And what had happened was, like those light bars that are over top of, like have 5 lights or something. The lights started like they were making a noise. Like that kind of noise. But they weren't like blinking or anything. They were just crackling. And then I looked up at the lights, and then I looked back in the mirror, and I saw her. So a couple days later, my grandson had spent the night over there with us. And he had gotten up in the middle of the night, and he slept with us. He got up in the middle of the night, turned the light on, went to go pee,
I now don't feel so bad.
came back to bed. And the next morning, I slept in, and he was in the living room with him.
Shit.
And he said, he called him Uncle D, and he said, "Hey, you got in the bathroom, buddy?" He says, but never said anything. We had never said anything. I hadn't said anything to him. And so that just kind of confirmed that, like, there's something there.
Something's messing with those lights.
And then one,
Sure.
we had like that Tempur-Pedic mattress, right? And I had gotten up to go pee in the middle of the night and came and got back in bed. Well, when I laid back down, I had laid there maybe a minute or two, and then I feel the bed release, like someone was
Got
sitting
up.
next to me.
Happens all the
I
time.
was like, what the heck? So there was like a Oriental couple we found out that lived on the top floor, but in the next building, but the building's connected. When they moved out, that girl was gone. Never saw her again.
Well,
She
they were
was
just
gone.
attached to
I
her.
walked down the hall several times
Yeah.
and felt like something cold just like go right through me.
But he never told me that. Till
Oh, I-
after I saw her.
That way we can cut this off and I can tell you about some of the other darker stuff that I do. I try to keep the family from it because you never know
Right.
what kids I had in the past are going to be listening to the new investigation.
True, yeah.
I don't claim to be a psychic. I'm going to shut this off. But it's use them. I can read them. If somebody wants to read them, I can give it to them and incorporate it. I'm not going to say instructor.
Yeah.
So it was height. It's like the spirit board didn't move, but your hands never left the planchette. Parking meters. Any parking meters nearby? Yeah, that's a little crazy. I don't think I've ever had that happen here.
Well, like a friend of my daughter passed away, and his name was Aaron.
We heard Aaron earlier.
Okay, well, his name was Aaron, and
How's the Eliza Pinkney
oh,
site?
really?
Yeah, I'll bring it up on the audio. I'll point it
Well,
out.
his name was Aaron. He just passed away recently, and he came through my family. So I do all the paperwork. And when she told me that he passed away, we were at my house. I didn't know he was coming to us. And she was like, "No, Mom, her son Ryder, my grandson, called him Uncle Aaron." And she was like, "Yeah, he passed away because he had been in an accident and he had been in the hospital in a coma. He finally passed away." And I just looked at her and I said, "Oh, I thought his name was Chris." And she's like, "No, Mom, his name's Aaron." I don't even know why I said that. So I get all this paperwork. His name was Christopher Aaron West. Yeah. And I was like, Michaela, my daughter Michaela, she was like, "Mom, I didn't even know his name was Christopher." I'm like, "Why did you say that?" Because like, I have no idea.
I heard Aaron earlier. I just didn't say it out loud because it was a little fuzzy. It came through the reverse box. So at least we'll have it on the audio so that way I can pull it up later. Let me show you guys the front of this building. That's crazy. And the point is, I normally will spit off everything just to see if something connects to somebody's personal story that they have. That I usually tell people, if you're bringing an agenda with you, like you're trying to find mom and dad that just passed away, like this is not what this is. I'm not doing the same thing. But if something comes up, then I want to know. Because that's what makes this such a great tool. So again, you can get me a nice quick sweep on those with the thermal camera. You got it facing the wrong way.
Try to hold it.
You're still going the wrong way.
Yep.
Screen facing you. There you go. But honestly, one of the most haunted places we have in town. See that tower over there? It belongs to the provost and dungeon. The dungeon downstairs calls me as soon as I walk down there. No. The old Charleston jail is actually in a really shitty part of town. That investigation, like, it's dark. Like, I won't leave. Like, my wife dropped like a wet noodle. Like, almost fainted. Like, just all the data I had was names. Names. So it was like, my daughter's like, "Dad, there's something goofy going on." And we didn't even go inside. This was just on the outside of it. They do a tour on the inside.
Right,
But I
yeah.
won't do one spot. That's why I didn't take you guys out on the streets, because this is shit's legit. They can be rigging up the EMF meters to go off and all that mess. We can cut this stuff off so we can actually chat normally. I think we got enough data for you guys to take a look through. Good job. Do I have to splice anything, or was it a square all night?
Square.
Good.